This cave right below my base is honestly huge. I've made everything up top look pretty good, so now time to start working down here. Today, our goal is to get this pathway finished. While we're doing that, I've got some pretty unhinged Reddit stories to read. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first story today is from r/scary stories from user trash_tia. I thought my boyfriend was cheating on me, but it was so much worse. I lay awake, 4 a.m. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Birds were singing. I pressed my pillow over my face. Morning, I mumbled into lavender-scented sheets. 3 days since I caught him kissing Kai. Don't think about it. Jet groaned into his pillows in response, a streak of annoyance in his tone. Part of me wondered if he'd have that tone if Kai were in his arms. I squeezed my eyes shut, suffocating myself inside lavender until I was choking on it. I couldn't control my voice. I couldn't control the sting in my eyes or the lump in my throat. Damn it. I pressed harder until I was sure. If I continued to apply pressure, I would lose consciousness. It wasn't anger I was feeling. If I was angry, I would throw the pillow at the wall. No, I wasn't angry. I was aware I was gripping the pillow, my fingernails scrunched up in its material. I was curious. Jet, I said again, unable to stop my tone hardening. I sensed movement before his warm arms found my waist, his lips brushing my shoulder in a kiss. He sighed, deep and heavy. Maybe it was an I don't love you anymore sigh. My mind drifted back to the day before, the pool party. I wasn't ashamed of showing him off to all my friends. I'd left Jet to mingle with the crowd. When I returned, 2 strawberry martinis in hand, it was just in time to see him making out with Kai Denver. The two of them swayed to the beat, bathed in neon light, their hands finding each other slowly, hesitantly, as I watched. I tried to push it out of my head, to snap back to the present, but the memory festered like curdled milk. Kai grabbed Jet's shirt collar and pulled him closer. They stood out in the crowd, Jet's thick brown hair clashing with Kai's sandy blonde. Kai's hands cupped his cheeks, eyes half-lidded, lips cracking into a teasing smile. His lips found my boyfriend's in a very slow, very real kiss, which, to my confusion, deepened. The two of them were lost in the crowd, in each other. I was sure if I hadn't made my presence known with a sharp cough, the two would have disappeared upstairs. They sprang apart the moment they saw me. Jet turned with a wide smile, a slow, spreading blush blossoming across his cheeks. Kai was slower. His hands lingered, deliberately, still clutching my boyfriend's shirt collar, even with his own girlfriend standing just a few feet away. Kai started it, I kept telling myself, but I couldn't deny Jet's grin. The way he leaned in again, hungry, almost desperate, his fingers threading, entangled in sandy blonde curls. Stop. I exhaled into my pillow, trying to banish the image of the two of them wrapped around each other, moving in sync, twin smiles and sparkling eyes, like the two of them. Fit. Jet had looked at me like that, right? Yes, of course he had. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Jet, I said louder, exhaling into my pillow. It's 4 a.m., Isabel, Jet sighed. His body moved against mine, but it felt heavy, wrong. His legs tangled around me, clammy with sweat. Maybe he was thinking about Kai. Maybe he'd gotten too excited. The pool is the perfect temperature. Do you want to stay in bed? I felt his breath tickle my neck as he rolled onto his side. I could sense the teasing smile curving on his lips. Or, you want to go for a dip? There's nothing worse than the feeling of doubt in the ones you love. The ones you give yourself to, in sickness and in health, till death do us part, always and forever. I had already rehearsed my wedding speech, and I had yet to be proposed to, but I knew it was coming. We had been dating for almost 2 years. He was my best friend, my soulmate. We'd known each other since we were kids, so it was inevitable, right? High school sweethearts? We bought our own house at 23, a cute suburban home with a white picket fence, our very own American dream. But why? I smothered the bad thoughts, rolled over, and kissed him. And he kissed back, half asleep, eyes still shut but smiling, like he loved me, like he wasn't thinking about a boy. I noticed he was slow, his hands barely cradling my face. He kissed Kai with confidence, like he was used to him, like he knew his face, every crease in his jaw, lips that somehow knew every part of him. He kissed him with a smile I'd never seen before. I waited for him to cut my cheeks, to hold me like I mattered. Jet just let out a deep exhale and buried his head in the pillow. After a full minute of staring at the clock on the wall, drowning in what-ifs, I finally sat up. Let's go out. I slipped out of bed, my legs unsteady, like I was walking on air. I dressed quickly, dragged a comb through my hair, and grabbed my phone. 4:30. I could wait an hour. When Jet didn't respond, still wrapped in blankets, I dove into our closet and grabbed a dress. Get up, I said, tossing clothes onto the bed and ignoring his groan of protest. The more awake and alert I was, the darker my thoughts grew. He was smiling in his sleep. I thought it was because of me. When there was no movement from our bed, I pulled off my sock and threw it at him. In pure Jet fashion, he buried his head in his arms. Did you just throw a sock at me? He mumbled. I ignored him. Come on, it's a beautiful day. I yanked open the curtains, flooding the room with light. The sky was a pre-dawn crystalline blue. The birds were singing their annoying songs, and my boyfriend was thinking about a boy. That is tough. When he didn't respond, again, I grew impatient, grabbing my jacket and flinging it on. Jet, get up. He sprang up, diving out of bed. Sorry. I handed him clean clothes, and he dressed quickly, throwing on a shirt and stumbling into his pants. Jet's style was my style. I chose all his clothes, his shoes, even his hairstylist. It was summer, so for him, I went with a loose tee and cargo shorts. I couldn't resist running my fingers through his hair, stretching up onto my toes to peck him on the cheek. He stood over me at 6 foot something, effortlessly flawless. Jet's smile was sleepy but cautious. His eyes followed mine, tawny brown, just the way I liked them. But it wasn't the way he looked at Kai. There was no real warmth, no spark. Instead of wrapping around me, his arms stayed at his sides. He slowly inclined his head, reminding me of when we were kids, and he would use the puppy dog eyes to swindle candy from me. Little sidebar here, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to make this story scary. I honestly have no clue at this point, but I feel like this is going to be one of those ones that kind of sneaks up on us. Anyways, let's continue. Where are we going? I handed him his shoes, and he took them, uncertainly. Just out. Jet followed me all the way downstairs and straight out the door into the already sweltering heat. I was glad I was wearing a dress. He slid into my car and immediately switched on the radio. Isabel, it's 4 a.m. I shrugged, starting up the car. It's a nice day. The car ride was undeniably tense. Jet stared out the window, watching early morning traffic blur past, his dark brown hair set alight by orange streaks of sunrise bleeding through the glass. He was traditionally handsome. Sculpted jawline, perfect eyes, cheekbones to die for. I was lucky to have scored someone like Jet. Somehow, I knew he was thinking about Kai, about their kiss, about how to break it to me gently. I love someone else, Isabel. His big brown eyes were screaming. Which could only mean one thing. I was sweating. My thighs clung to the leather seats. My breath was stuck in my throat. Damn. I found my voice, the words that had been suffocating me, when Jet switched off the radio and turned to me like he knew I was drowning, choking on the words tangled on my tongue. Jet, I said, keeping my gaze on the road. Do you remember Adam? Jet frowned. Adam? It had been 1,350 days since I lost my best friend. When I was 18, I craved perfection in a partner. I had grown up at the dawn of evolving technology, the ability to transform yourself into something more. Dad died when I was 5, and Mom brought home Leo the next day, and they had been together ever since. The relationship made me believe in true perfection, the perfect human for me. I wanted the perfect jawline, the perfect hair. It didn't end with looks. I wanted a personality that shined. I didn't expect them to laugh at my jokes. I just wanted them to laugh at their own, at themselves. But I also wanted them to be pretentious and a little rude. I wanted a guy who would gladly step on me, someone ditzy and intelligent. I was yet to find him. Don't even get me started on my high school standards. I came to realize my perfect boy was in fact my best friend. Adam, the boy next door, the boy who didn't know I existed. Romantically, at least. I had known Adam since we were little kids, pulling faces at each other through our windows. The problem was, our parents hated each other. Adam's mom made the mistake of asking if Leo was mom's real boyfriend, so I was given strict orders to stay away. But he kept appearing at his window. At first I was shy, hiding behind my curtains while Adam played peekaboo with his. I liked the twinkle in his eye, the way he giggled when I told him to go away. I would draw my curtains and peek through, which made him laugh. As we grew up, I found myself edging closer to my bedroom window, finding comfort in his presence. At school, we were strangers. Adam hung out with the gross boys who blew boogers out of their nose. One night after dinner, I scribbled, "Do you want to play?" on my notepad, and he surprised me with a grin. Yes. We started swapping notes and talking for hours each night after school. I started opening my window, leaning out to chat with him. One evening, he introduced me to his entire stuffed animal collection, so of course, I had to introduce him to mine. Before long, Adam grew brave. He showed up at our front door, a mess of brown curls, freckles, and scarlet cheeks. When Mom tried to shoo him away, he held up a crumpled scrap of paper, a capitalized plea in red crayon. "Please, please, please, can I play with Izzy?" When Mom didn't respond, he quickly added, "You look very pretty, Miss Kane." Mom sighed and rolled her eyes, but she was fighting a smirk. "I'm flattered, Adam." Adam's eyes lit up. He grinned, jumping up and down. "So, Izzy can play?" "Do what you want," she grumbled, turning away from us. "And tell your mother to learn some manners, young man." When Mom slammed the door on us, Adam turned to me giggling. His smile was contagious. We grew up together, and my stomach started to flutter whenever he smiled. Puberty slammed into me. I got my first period, and boys suddenly didn't seem that gross anymore. I started to feel breathless and maybe a little nauseous when we lay on the grass watching clouds. We were 14 when Adam had a growth spurt. His freckles became more prominent, which I hated, but he was also getting love letters from girls in our class. I had sweaty palms and flushed cheeks, and I couldn't understand why talking to Adam had become so much harder. I got tongue-tied and tripped over my words, my face burning. I had a crush. A gut-churning, butterfly-inducing, world-ending crush on the boy next door. That realization hit when we were 16, after I had already been on my fair share of dates. But none of them were with Adam, who was just that perfection I craved. I didn't want a boy like him. I wanted him. One night, I was watching Adam change through my window. I didn't even realize I was peeking. It was a mistake. That's what I told myself, at least. I totally didn't mean to see him. When he looked directly at me, I ducked. Busted. I tried to play it cool, jumping to my feet and saying, "Oh, I dropped my hairbrush." He was already grinning, mouthing, "Nice try." I pretended not to see another shadow behind him, who moved closer, wrapping their arms around his neck, making him laugh. The two of them tumbled onto his bed. Adam dived to his feet and drew the curtains before I could see anything. I left it to my imagination, aware of prickling heat rising in my cheeks. I pulled my own curtain shut, my heart pounding, my stomach twisting. The boy next door was taken. On his 20th birthday, he had a party, but nobody came. While half of our year was celebrating graduation, others were numb with terror. Instead, the two of us ate cake and drank beers and watched clouds like we were kids again. Like we could hold on to our youth in one perfect afternoon. I sat on the edge of his pool, dangling my feet in the crystal water, lapping over my toes. I'd received my letter the day before. I let it sit in my bedroom for 2 hours while I paced up and down the stairs, then heaved up my breakfast. Eventually, when I couldn't take it anymore, when my skin was crawling, I tore it open, read a single word, and broke into Mom's wine cabinet, polishing off 3 bottles. I didn't hold the same hope for the boy next door. Adam lounged on a pool float, head bowed, a beer pressed to his lips, that exact same envelope crumpled in his trembling hands. He was already drunk, slightly off kilter. I pretended not to see the self-inflicted scar cutting through his eye. The last thing Adam wanted was to be perfect. "What do you think it says, Izzy?" he turned, slurring a little. I didn't look up from the surface of the pool, watching the last streaks of sunlight dance across the glittering blue as the sky faded into diffused twilight. The boy next door was taken, and my chest ached. It was getting harder to breathe around him, like my lungs were starved of oxygen. If this was what falling in love was, I didn't want it. It was agonizing, cruel. It was wrong to feel like this about some stupid boy. I wanted perfect, and Adam wasn't. So why was I swallowing razor blades when I was with him? A never-ending push and pull between us. Adam was a virus burning through my blood, intoxicating my thoughts with only him. Telling him my feelings would be selfish. Telling him would ruin what we had. But keeping my feelings from him was just ripping my heart to shreds. "Just open it," I said, kicking my legs. He did, tearing into it. I ducked my head, squeezing my eyes shut. Adam didn't speak for a long time. It was long enough for me to risk glancing under my lashes. Something in my gut flipped. He was trying so hard to hide it, but I could see the way his jaw clenched, the glassiness in his eyes. Crying, but not just crying. I saw the lump in his throat, the curl of his lip, that he was trying to be angry. He wasn't angry. He was terrified. Adam didn't have to say it. I already knew what it said. I watched him stare down at his fate before he scoffed, screwed it up, and dumped the letter in the water. "Rejected," he said with a grin, wading to the side of the pool and pulling himself out. He was shaking, yet still wearing that plastic smile. "I guess I'm in the clear." "Yeah," I said, hating myself for sounding uninterested, uncaring, when in reality, I think we were both fracturing. I was ashamed of how my gaze lingered where it shouldn't, on the sculpted muscles of his back, the way wet strands of hair stuck to his forehead and fell into the light green eyes. There was no way Adam McIntyre had been rejected, but still, I nodded and smiled, ignoring the way he kept swiping at raw eyes, muttering, "I think I'm allergic to something in the pool." "I'm going to grab another beer," Adam said, still putting on a show, still hiding behind a facade he knew I could see right through. He grabbed his phone from the patio, frowning at the screen. "Want one?" I saluted him with my soda. "I'm good." There was one thing Adam was terrible at, lying. He fidgeted on his feet, unable to meet my eyes. When I heard the wet slap of his footsteps disappear inside the house, I slipped into the water and fished out the letter. It was barely legible, the ink already bleeding onto my hands. But all I really needed to see was the beginning. "For the attention of Mr. Adam McIntyre, congratulations. You have been selected as a suitable candidate for Conversion Class B as part of AMOR, Artificial Matchmaking and Optimization Registry. Following biometric, psychological, and appearance evaluations, you have been awarded a compatibility score of 9. Please report to your local AMOR processing center by 0900 hours on Monday, June 24th for reconstruction. Failure to do so will have consequences. Your family will be compensated. You are strictly forbidden to engage in the following, henceforth before reconstruction: smoking, drug use, overeating, and sexual activity. Do not self-inflict injuries on your body. This includes brain-altering substances. These will not pardon you. We thank you for your contribution to a more unified future. From the Central Placement Authority Office of Social Alignment and Trust. Unity, Mr. McIntyre, begins with you." By the time I was finished skimming the letter, my heart was in my throat. I found Adam in his parents' basement, eyes squeezed shut, a knife to the curve of his throat. But he wasn't stupid. The letter was very clear. I couldn't do anything but wrap my arms around him. He dropped the knife, letting it hit the floor. "Go away." Adam's voice was shaky, a warning, but I was used to his mood swings. I didn't let go, clinging to him. At first, he was stiff, arms hanging useless at his sides. Then, slowly, something in him broke. He leaned into me, burying his face in my shoulder. Bit by bit, the boy next door began to unravel. "Damn it," he whispered, his words splintering into a sob. I held him as he shattered, sobbing and screaming, until his cries collapsed into broken whimpers. He clung to me like I was an anchor, and I felt helpless. Hopeless that I couldn't help him. I'm supposed to go to college, and I'm not going? Do you hear me? I'm not letting them do this to me. His laugh caught in his throat. Tears soaked my shoulder, warm, somehow comforting, and so human I almost let myself break too. I'll get the hell out of here, he whispered, his lips brushing my ear. An involuntary shiver ran down my spine. I've heard of what they do in those places. I've seen the videos. And your mom's boyfriend. He trailed off, but I knew what he was going to say. I did hear kids manage to escape. Adam's breath was warm. There's a European rebel group fighting for us, and if we can somehow get into Canada. Adam, I spoke softly, let's not talk about it tonight. I allowed myself to smile. It's your birthday. When he finally sank to the floor, curling his knees to his chest, I sank down with him. He lit a cigarette with a sigh. I rested my head on his. We sat in peaceful silence. I liked the feeling of his head resting in the crook of my shoulder. So, he murmured, taking a drag of the cigarette, what was your score? I ignored his question for a moment, focusing on the ignition of orange between his fingers. Are you even inhaling that? He groaned, tipping his head back, his gaze straight on the ceiling. I'm trying to. Adam passed me the cigarette, and I took a slow, uncertain pull. I immediately choked, coughing up smoke. Oh God, I waggled my tongue, the sticky taste of nicotine glued to my mouth. I handed it back, and he chuckled. We passed it back and forth for a while, neither of us inhaling, for both of us faking it. After all, that's what we did with candy cigarettes as kids. Growing up sucks. I scored an 8, I said to his earlier question. His expression crumbled, smile fading. Sounds like they don't find you attractive. I shoved him playfully, but he was right. I was assessed as average at an 8. According to my letter, my intelligence and nose brought me down from an 8.5. I silently thanked my mother and father's average genes. But that didn't stop the self-hatred, the constant need to make myself desirable. Jay was accepted too, Adam said softly, and my heart fluttered. He avoided my gaze. I'm not letting them do this to him. So, over the next few weeks, he planned. On the morning of his summons, Adam crawled through my bedroom window at 6 a.m. He was armed with his father's gun tucked into his belt, a backpack filled with essentials, and dyed black hair poking out from beneath his hooded sweatshirt. Get up, he whispered. When I tried to bury myself in my pillows, he yanked them away and tugged me out of bed. We have an hour until we're meeting Noah, he said hurriedly. So we need to go right now. Pack enough clothes, dump your phone. I sat up, swiping sleep from my eyes. Noah? He nodded, already packing my things into my bag. He's a survivor. Noah is driving us and some others to the border, and then we're getting a boat. He threw my backpack at me. Get dressed, now. While I tried to process his words, Adam grabbed my laptop. You need to dump this too, he hissed. You can't leave a trail. Adam moved to my drawers, grabbing sanitary towels and spare cash and stuffing them into my backpack. You'll need these. He moved to my sock drawer, pulling out underwear. Oh, and these too. Adam, I said. I had a bad feeling Operation Move to Canada was doomed to fail. He didn't turn to look at me, grasping fistfuls of my socks. I know it's a long shot, he whispered, but it's mine. I didn't know his plan, but a plan was enough. I was already prepared to follow him. Slipping out of bed, I joined him, snatching my panties out of his hands. His cheeks glowed crimson, but he was smiling. Adam flung up his hands. Sorry. I threw a sock at him, and he retreated with a smirk. Step away from the underwear drawer, I said. Stepping away, he muttered, practically diving into my closet. Adam and I packed everything we could, and I wrote my mom a note only she would read. We dumped our phones in a neighbor's pool and jumped into Adam's car. Jay, his boyfriend, sat in the back. Serena, a gray-eyed girl, also selected, squeezed next to him, blonde curls falling in willowy golden locks in her face. She had a natural kind of beauty, the type that was marketable, sellable. Jay's glittering smile and sculpted jawline made him irresistible. Adam's charm was what sold him. His eyes were his only flaw. I preferred brown. Serena and Jay were strong 9s for their looks. Adam's personality bumped up my own personal rating to 9.5. I realized, a sick feeling coiling in my gut, that I was among pretty corpses. I was the only average one, the only one allowed to live past 18. I had known about AMOR since I was a kid. Back then, it was a Korea-owned technology company, Morphosis, that was bought by Apple. I remembered the commercials, constant interruptions about every 5 minutes, promising perfection through skincare products and eventually body modification. Instead of being raised on shows like Bluey, I was repeatedly told that perfection was the only way forward. I remembered the colors invading my screen, pastel pink and light blue. Girls and boys sculpted like mannequins, dressed in traditional black and white, while an AI voice over-repeated the same thing. No flaws, only beauty. Find your one, who you're fated to be with. Be beautiful. Be you. Press X for a full consultation. With birth rates rapidly declining and billionaires worrying about future labor shortages, women were encouraged to have children. But according to my mother, there was no support, no financial aid, not even a stable income to raise a child. So, women rebelled by refusing to have children, and men retaliated by treating women as the second class. The government responded by punishing both and enforcing a so-called stable future. Through AMOR, the American government passed a federal law mandating that every 20-year-old who met the beauty standard must surrender themselves to reconstruction, ensuring perfect partners to birth perfect children. As I grew up, I started noticing them in public. Flawless men and women on the streets, like living Barbie dolls. I was afraid of them until Dad died and Mom brought one home. His name was Leo. He was purely a rebound. By the time I reached high school, the naturally attractive kids were already destroying themselves to avoid being selected for reconstruction. I was a freshman when a senior boy jumped off the roof. Acceptance letters still crumpled in his hand. Now, my best friend was expected to willingly walk inside a slaughterhouse. Adam was resilient, and that's what I loved about him. He wasn't going to surrender his body, his soul, for someone else's satisfaction. I was surprised that we didn't get pulled over, though Adam was careful. Serena came out of her shell, explaining she had a girlfriend back home who was planning to follow her to Canada. The atmosphere began to lighten, and by the time we were en route to the border, I was swapping socials with Serena, the two of us planning where we were going to go to college, while Jay and Adam playfully argued over which choice of radio station. It felt like we were on a road trip, just 4 friends hanging out, until Adam's phone rang. I met his frightened gaze, because he didn't have a phone. I watched him dump it in a jacuzzi. Grab the wheel, he told Jay, panicking, reaching for his backpack. He didn't find his phone. Instead, a small device wrapped in his clothes. Adam held it up, pinched between his fingers, his eyes widening. Damn it. Adam McIntyre, Serena Eastbrook, Jay Wednesday. The flat, robotic drawl sliced through the silence, making me jump. Serena screamed, slamming her hands over her ears. Behind us, 2 black vans swerved into position, blocking the road. By the order of the AMOR division, you have been selected for reconstruction following your assessment. Adam's knuckles whitened around the wheel. He slammed the car into reverse, only for a third van to crash into us from behind, jerking the vehicle forward. I was flung forwards, snapped back my belt. You are surrounded. Exit the vehicle now or we will extract you by force. Get out, Adam's voice croaked into a cry. He was shaking, grabbing his pack, then his gun from the glove compartment, stuffing it in his jeans. Get out now. He pointed toward a clearing that led into the trees. Over there, he said, if we lose them and continue through the trees, we can find another car and keep going north. Adam pulled a crumpled map from his pocket. We're meeting Noah here. When none of us moved, he twisted to face us, his eyes wild. Go now! Serena and Jay were the first to run, sneaking out of the back. Ahead of us, armed soldiers were inspecting cars. I crawled out of the passenger seat as Adam cracked open the driver's side. I dropped into a crouch, following his figure as he darted down the road, rolled under a stalling car, and then burst into a sprint. I watched my best friend run for his life, and something snapped inside me, freezing me in place. Twisted around, I saw more soldiers swarming from the black vehicle, scanning for Adam and the others. "Izzy," Adam hissed, gesturing me over. "Come on." I nodded and broke into a run, copying him. I dropped into a crawl, scooted under another car, and threw myself toward the clearing. When I reached him, he grabbed my hand, but before he could pull me forward, I tugged away. And before I could stop myself, before I could swallow the poison rising in my throat, I told him I loved him, that I had always loved him. Adam was perfect, and he was mine. It was fate. Just like those stupid commercials, Adam was my fate. He was perfection, and he was meant to be with me. Adam's expression softened for a moment. "Izzy, you know I'm—" He swallowed, squeezing his eyes shut. "We're best friends," he said, his voice cracking. "Izzy, you know we are. You're, confused." I found my voice. "Confused?" "Well, yeah," he said, his gaze flicking behind me. "Come on, let's go." "I'm not confused," I said. "You don't love me, dude." He surprised me with a laugh. Adam gently grabbed my shoulders, and I almost tipped into his embrace. His eyes found mine, forcing me to look at him, forcing me to truly take all of him in. "Izzy, you love the idea of me." Something sour crept up my throat, and I found myself laughing. "Sure." I didn't give him a chance to respond. I stepped back off again, off kilter, my head spinning, and the way his eyes suddenly widened, jaw clenching, he knew exactly what I was going to do. He pulled out his father's gun, which had no bullets. Adam had told me that himself. Still, he pointed the gun, finding the perfect trajectory between my eyes, his finger trembling. I held my breath and screamed, "He's over here!" I watched his eyes hollow, filling with pain. He staggered back just as gunshots sounded. "Izzy, what the hell are you—" "He's over here," I repeated, stepping back, my legs threatening to collapse beneath me. "He's here!" I screamed it until my throat was raw, until I was on my knees and he was tackled to the ground, forced onto his stomach, his cries muffled, hands pinned behind him. When he screamed, a boot slammed down on his neck, shoving his face into the dirt. I saw his eyes. I saw his lips twist into a snarl. "You didn't," he kept whispering, choking on laughter that burst into sobs as he was violently dragged to his feet. His eyes didn't even find me. They were too afraid to. "You didn't." Adam said it again and again, his voice splitting through my skull. "Tell me you didn't, Izzy. Tell me you didn't." I replayed Adam's words in my head as they dragged him away and shoved him into the back of a black van which would take him to his death. When the door slammed, I staggered back, regaining my breath, regaining my thoughts. What did I just do? While part of me forced my body forward to try and save him, the rest of me was paralyzed. Serena and Jay were captured with him. Serena screamed at me, her wails echoing in my skull like ocean waves, fading in and out. But I barely registered her. I could still hear Adam. "Tell me you didn't love me." I could still hear his screams, pleading with me, like he was trying to convince himself. "Izzy, you didn't love me, right? You didn't love me." His words followed me all the way home, where my mother was still waiting. I waited 2 full weeks until I was sure enough time had passed. I drove to the AMOR center, and walking inside, I felt sick to my stomach. I found myself entranced by hundreds, maybe thousands, of desirable partners displayed on giant human-sized TVs. I stumbled through the women's section first. Serena was displayed with a seductive smirk, wearing a 2-piece bikini, her skin lighter, eyes an unnatural piercing blue. Her breasts were exaggerated, purposely sticking from lingerie. She was a human Barbie doll. Beach Babe was what described her. "Hello, welcome to AMOR. Is there anything I can help you with?" The male attendant in front of me, wearing a navy tie, was one of them. He too was sculpted, too smiley. I nodded. "I'm looking for a boyfriend," I said. "Can I see the new releases?" His smile widened. "Oh, of course. Are you not interested in our female releases?" I didn't have the heart to look at Serena. Her original self still stung my eyes. "I'm okay." He led me through automatic doors into another room. It was darker, lit up in a pale white glow. I noticed some of the displays were still black. A few were still being set up. I found him on aisle 3. He towered over the others. Adam, or the thing with my best friend's face, was perfect. His face had been shaved down, his nose sculpted. Adam's original curls were back, his eyes colored a deep, velvety brown, which brought out his smile. Enemy to a lover was Adam's selling hook. Why don't you introduce me to your parents? I promise I'll be a good boy. The attendant stood beside me, still grinning. If you're interested in purchasing this one today, I'd advise against it, he said. These boyfriends were only processed a few days ago. So they're still a little, he shrugged. Well, reconstruction can be traumatizing for the brain. I suggest waiting a week for the product to adjust. I'll take him, I said, my eyes glued to my best friend's vacant, soulless stare. His wide, glittering grin. The attendant didn't argue. He led me to the checkout counter. I signed some paperwork, handed over my card, and before I knew what was happening, Adam was being led out to meet me. He was dressed in a white dress shirt and pants. No freckles this time, no flaws, just pure perfection. I took his hand, and he reacted immediately, the way Adam never had. I could pretend it was our first meeting. Love at first sight, his hands cupped to my cheeks, his lips breaking into a grin. Hello, he said. His voice was deeper, perfectly fitting his profile. What's your name? I'm Unit 13446. Would you like to give me a different name? Please feel free to name me, and our lifetime bond will begin. Isabel, I said, my voice shuddering. My name is Isabel. Isabel, he repeated with a smile. I like your name. I found myself smiling too, overwhelmed. Your name, I said, tears stinging my eyes. Your name is Jet. Isabel? Jet's voice pulled me back to the present. I didn't realize I was crying. My boyfriend's expression was already frantic. In front of us stood a giant, looming glass building. AMOR, specifically the help center. I noticed Jet was stiff in his seat. Isabel, he repeated as I gently pulled him from the car. Why are we here? I didn't reply, striding through the welcome doors. I kept a tight grip on his wrist. At the front desk, a nurse greeted me, her eyes flicking to Jet. I saw the way she looked at him, eyes widening, cheeks blooming red. This is my boyfriend Jet, I said, snapping her out of it. I think he's cheating. The nurse nodded, quickly slipping back into a professional. That sounds like a fault, she said, typing something into her laptop. Can you tell me his registration number? Jet's eyes widened. Isabel, I don't understand. Shut up, Jet, I said, and he complied, closing his mouth. I focused on the nurse. Unit 13446. She pointed to a room ahead. Take a step in there, she said. It looks like your boyfriend bot is malfunctioning. The doctor was my mom's age, with large eyes and bottle cap glasses. He led Jet to a bed and gently sat him down. I took the seat opposite, watching the doctor take his blood first, then check his heartbeat. He gave a pleased nod. His vitals seem to be fine, he said. I'll take a look at the brain. The words bubbled in my mouth, poisonous and painful, but they were mine. Can you make him forget about a certain person? I asked as the nurse hooked him up to a machine. I thought back to Kai, the way he made my boyfriend smile for real, not a plastic smile, not a program smile. He smiled the way he did when we were kids. The way he smiled at Jay when they first met. Jet was limp, letting the doctor stick needles into his skin. He squirmed when the doctor's fingers found the back of his head. I only want him to look at me, I whispered. I want you to erase everyone else. No, Jet surprised me with a cry, his eyes widening. No, Stop talking, the doctor scolded, and Jet's mouth clamped shut. He drew back before pulling on gloves. That is not supposed to happen, he hummed. He retrieved a bone saw, dragging spinning blades across Jet's head. When the body was reconstructed, the skull was replaced with an artificial one to hold the brain and allow for modifications when necessary, the doctor explained. His hands were slick with scarlet, red pooling down his arm. I noticed Jet was gritting his teeth, trembling, gripping the bed, but he wasn't supposed to feel it. The doctor noticed too. He studied my boyfriend's expression and clapped his hands in front of Jet, but Jet didn't blink. What is its name? The doctor asked me. Jet. He shook his head. No, before reconstruction. I swallowed. I don't know. I lied. He sighed, prodding Jet's right eye. This time he didn't flinch. Boyfriend bots very rarely show emotion toward anyone but their owner, he said. That is, of course, unless the former consciousness has taken over. He turned to me. The organic body may have remembered its past self, and possibly even a past loved one. Kai is a boyfriend bot, I said. He's my friend's. He nodded, slipped on a pair of gloves, and reached deep into Jet's skull. I will do a simple reset, he said. With practiced precision, he extracted a tiny metal chip, snapped it clean in two, and replaced it with a fresh one. Jet's eyes flew open in protest, flashing bright, hypnotizing green. His mouth parted like he was about to scream. Then his eyes rolled back in his head, and his mouth closed shut. I've erased the unit's memories, the doctor said calmly, unhooking Jet from the machine. When my boyfriend fell forward, his body limp and wrong, the doctor caught him, helping him into a sitting position. However, I recommend requesting a full reinstall. I've fixed the problem for now, but if the organic consciousness remembers itself, there's nothing I can do but recommend a reset. The doctor helped Jet to his feet. Did you buy him fresh? I nodded. I bought him brand new. Ah, the doctor's eyes darkened. It's a common problem. If units aren't given the time to adjust to the reconstructed body, sometimes the organic brain can remember who it was and can reawaken. His smile was too big. But don't worry, just bring him here for a reset. I felt like I was floating. I lifted Jet to his shaky feet and led him out of the hospital. He stumbled twice, managing to walk on his own, though his legs were shaky. In the car, I caught his hand twitching, his eyes flickering. Slow drips of red pooled from his nose. Jet, I asked shakily, who are you in love with? He didn't respond for a moment. I love him, he spat through his teeth, his tone twisting. I love Jay. Adam. I scooted back, my heart in my throat. Adam was still in there. For a second, we both sat still, silent. There were only his strained breaths. Then he slowly raised his fist and slammed it into his temple. I screamed, and he did it again. A river of scarlet now seeping from his nose. A third time, and he was screaming, a raw, painful wail erupting from his mouth. Izzy. Adam's voice was as broken as it was the day I let him get dragged away and turned into my fantasy. A fantasy who loved me. His half-lidded eyes found mine, glassy and so human. A wave of shame slammed into me. What the hell did you do to me? This author, Trash Tia, has never failed to deliver an amazing story. Honestly, the first 10 minutes or so of reading the story, I'm thinking, how is this a scary story? Which I'm sure you guys are probably wondering the same thing. But then you get hit out of nowhere with the information that he used to be her best friend who wasn't even into girls. And she bought him after he was reconstructed into a fantasy where he did like her. Gosh, this one was insane. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Anyways, let's get on with the next one. Just a little warning, this next story does have some description of gore, so listen at your own risk. This one's also from r/scary stories from user Ozzy_Zingo. My family receives letters one day before we die. Today, I got mine. People die all the time. It's nature. Ours are just extremely detailed on a piece of paper we receive a day before we die. Although it sounds very macabre, we live normal lives. All of our working family members have stable, normal jobs. Kids have a good childhood. No one else knows about our family's tradition, and my parents, as well as theirs before them, are very adamant on keeping it that way. Exceptions apply, of course, otherwise we wouldn't be a family. People who are married into the family are not affected by our tradition. They don't receive any letters and live a normal life by all standards. Not always, at least. My grandma got hers. Never seen my grandpa that angry before. And my dad also got his. I've never been so angry before. But the kids in our family will receive letters nonetheless. They will all die eventually, and it will be written for them. Anyhow, today I got mine. I'm 28 years old, by the way. When I woke up this morning, I dreaded the fact that there will be a tomorrow. That I have to wake up, go to work, get home, do it all over again, until the day I die. Now, I dread the fact there will be no tomorrow because I will die, and it's written in the letter sitting beside me. I guess I should go into detail about the letters themselves, so long as you read yours when you get it. You will die in a somewhat normal way. Not particularly painful, not particularly awful. My grandpa got his, read it, and died of a heart attack in his sleep. He was 87 when he died. He had a good life. What I'm trying to say is that, despite the letters describing your death, most of us have normal deaths. I've been told about the letters throughout my entire life, that no matter how old I am, I might receive one, and then I will die the next day. Thanks for ruining the first day of school, Mom and Dad. Nothing says existential dread as much as getting your mail thinking you might die the next day. But that's how life is for us. No one knows how it started, why it won't end. Just that there's a common denominator and a set of rules. The letters in question are a single piece of paper inside a white envelope with a name written on the front. There's no mailman, they just appear in the mailbox or fall through the mail slot one day. It's addressed to whoever's name is written on the front, and by no means whatsoever should you read someone else's letter. Even people outside of my family's blood should never read someone else's letter. Terrible things happen to you. You will receive your letter immediately after reading someone else's, and you won't have a nice death. You will have a slow, painful one. You'd wish you had gotten the death you read when reading about someone else's. Amongst some other rules, this one is the most enforced one. My cousin got tackled by my grandpa for almost opening my grandma's letter. He was mean anyways, so I didn't care. Mom and Dad drilled this rule into the back of me and my siblings' heads, far more times than I can count, and they didn't shy away from using examples. A few decades back, my mom and her siblings were sitting around the kitchen table with their parents, eating and talking about how their day in school was. Then there was a single knock on the door, followed by a letter hitting the soft carpet. It was addressed to Jake, my mom's twin brother. He was 10. Her parents told him to go get it, open it, and read it to himself. He did, and started to cry. Despite the urge to read the letter, all of them comforted him and prepared him for the day to come by giving him the best last day that they ever could. Except my mom's older sister. For whatever bratty reason, she decided that she would read the letter. While my grandpa ordered pizza and my grandma started baking her son's favorite cookies, my mom and her sister were ordered to take care of their brother for the moment. As they were sitting around the floor, watching Jake's favorite TV show, my mom's sister leaned towards him and whispered, "What did the letter say?" Jake turned red and his eyes began to water as my mom shot her sister a concerning look. "We're not supposed to know," she said. "So?" "Stephanie, stop," my mom said as she stood up. Although she was very young, she had a sense of the situation and went to the kitchen table to grab the letter before her sister could get her hands on it. The letter was gone. Her father had just returned with the pizzas when my mom asked where the letter was. He said that he told Stephanie to grab it and go put it in David's room. My mom turned around to see Stephanie standing up. She held the letter in her hand. She proudly proclaimed, "I know how David dies." Apparently, as soon as she said that, a loud crash emerged from the kitchen, followed by my grandma's loud scream. The kitchen window was shattered and pieces of glass covered every corner of the room. My grandma was bleeding from the top of her eyebrow. A thick shard of glass had lodged itself under her skin as the window shattered. On the kitchen floor, covered in blood, was a letter addressed to my mom's sister. No one knew what to do. Their parents were fuming, and my mom's sister panicked, frantically begging her for forgiveness. My grandpa forced her to sit there in the kitchen until she read it. My grandma was crying, begging my grandpa to let her go. My mom and her brother struggled to understand what was happening, but they all knew she had to open the letter and read it, and she eventually did. She cried the whole time, but stopped after finishing the letter. She just went silent for the rest of the evening. The despair in her eyes when she looked at my mom was a sight she would never forget. My mom said that the smell of freshly baked cookies had never felt so wrong before. My mom's brother went to sleep that night and never woke up. My mom's sister went to sleep that night and was never found again. The only thing left of her sister was a pair of eyes sitting on the windowsill. They were staring towards the branches hanging just outside. I can't remember if they even bothered calling the cops. Trying to explain everything without showing the letters would probably be hard. But I don't even think they went searching for her. She knew her sister had done wrong, but she was still her sister, still her family. One day, when she was playing outside by herself, she found bloody footsteps leading into the forest. She followed them. It was already late, and soon the sun disappeared and the warmth of the day had turned into the cold of the night. The tree branches turned into arms and began reaching for her, the roots covering the ground bit by her feet with every step she took. But she kept following the footsteps. Eventually, she stopped because the footsteps had stopped, but she didn't look up. She didn't have to. Her sister's nightgown shined against the moonlight in the corner of my mom's eyes. She was too scared to move, but once she felt the warm embrace of her sister's hug, she finally dared to move her body. She wrapped her arms around her sister. She was alive. She was here. She was coming home. My mom buried her face against her sister's stomach. It was wet. She moved her head back. Red, deep, wet red covered her sister's clothes. She looked up. 2 streaks of dark blood ran from her sister's empty eye sockets alongside her body, down to her feet. She smiled. My mom felt the deceit of her sister's arms wrapped around her and managed to break free. She ran as fast as she could, but she didn't know where. She had lost the trail. She went further and further into the dark, hostile forest. She said she can't remember how far she had gone or how long she was out there, just that she kept going, because she could hear her sister behind her, and she was getting closer. She crashed against the bushes, scraping her arms and knees. A large thorn bush suddenly covered her path, but she dove forward. Her sister's cries filling the air was the last thing she remembered before she woke up. She was lying on the backyard of their house, the sun slowly rising and forcing its way into her eyelids. She got up, went inside the house, into her room, and went to sleep. She woke up again to the scream of her mother, who was standing beside her. My mom was covered from head to toe in thick thorns, each burrowing and piercing her skin. Her parents had searched for her all night. They spent the whole day removing each thorn. My mom said this was the only time she ever saw my grandpa cry. She told them everything. My grandpa refused to believe her. She never forgave him for that. Hearing that story when you're 7 years old at your cousin's birthday party really leaves a mark. That mark has kept me from reading others' letters though, so thanks I guess. Our second rule is that you should never destroy or throw away your own or someone else's letter before or after they've died. In comparison to our other rules, this one doesn't have horrible consequences. It's more of a social aspect and, this happened, therefore they did this. Oh, he died in a slightly more horrible car crash? Must have been disrespectful against someone's letter. Oh, she didn't die immediately when the gun went off? Must have tried to destroy her own letter. And no matter how many times you destroy it or try to throw it away, the letter will just reappear. Bottom line is, respect your letter and respect others. Imagine you're staying at your grandpa's house and you're going to the movies for the first time, and before leaving, he pulls you aside and tells you you're your family's second rule. Completely ruins a movie. Our family's a goddamn shit show sometimes. Another rule is that you must read your letter once you receive it. Otherwise, you won't have such a nice death either. Other than knowing you're going to die, the worst part about the letters is reading about it. Something about a detailed description about your own death isn't that alluring to people. So sometimes they don't. A few years back, my grandpa's brother and his wife were visiting their winter cabin up north. They were celebrating 40 years of marriage. Late that evening, after getting home from a restaurant, the letter addressed to my grandpa's brother was sitting on the living room couch. Not feeling like bumming out one of the happiest days of his life, he decided not to read it, despite his wife's pleas. I guess he felt like he had lived a long and happy life, and he didn't want to ruin his last day alive for himself. Who can blame him, really? After going to bed, his wife woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of what she would explain as furniture scraping against the floor. She was about to get up and investigate when the sound stopped, so she just went back to bed and figured it was the old wooden house complaining about the weather. She didn't think about checking in on her husband, who wasn't lying next to her anymore. When she woke up and noticed he was gone, she went to the living room and screamed. The scene before her was worse than you could ever imagine. Her husband was nailed to the roof by his feet, hanging upside down with his scraped fingertips barely touching the floor. Blood ran down along his naked body from various holes on random spots and formed a pool of blood on the floor below his head. Thick shards of wood pierced his fingernails and went out the top of his fingers. His eyes were wide open. They stared at the door leading to the bedroom. After a thorough investigation by officials that seemingly led to nothing other than suspicion of foul play from the wife, everything was cleaned up, and sure enough, significant amounts of floor were missing from just around where he had hung. It looked like he had tried to claw his way towards the door. Did he try to reach his wife? Why couldn't she hear him? No one knew, no one asked, and no one dared to read his letter. All because he didn't read his letter. But what if his death was just exactly that? He still died in that awful way. Would it have mattered if he read the letter? Would he have just been bummed about becoming a human piñata and definitely had his last day alive ruined for him? Am I really supposed to believe that if he had read the damn letter, he would have died of a heart attack in his sleep or something? So as far as family traditions go, mine has a curse. My family's attempt at labeling our curse as a tradition and constantly reminding me of it throughout my entire life has only served as a source of chronic anxiety on my behalf. I can't really blame them though. They just want a somewhat normal life for us, and we have to follow the rules to have that. So there's only one obvious way to escape it. Stop making kids. But not everyone feels that way, so the curse lives on. I've never really wanted kids. I wouldn't want to put them through what I've had to go through, and I won't have to worry anymore. My entire life, I've feared the day I will receive my letter, but for once, I feel calm. I realize that there's nothing left to do, nothing left to live for. I can do whatever I want. This has gotten me somewhat curious. My letter is sitting right beside me now. I haven't opened it yet. I'm not sure if I intend to, but it got me thinking. Since it's my last day alive, I don't have much to live for right now, and our curse is sure to kill me anyways. What would happen if I read someone's letter after they died? This brings me to our family's fourth rule. Never read someone's letter after they've died. It's their letter and their letter only, even in death. But I've never heard of any family member actually doing it. I've never asked either, but the other rules and their consequences have been explained to me in detail since I gained consciousness. This is due partly to my grandpa and his predecessors. After someone has died, we put their letter in the chest. It's an old black wooden casket that stores all of our family's letters. It's guarded with a single key and belongs to the oldest son currently alive in the family. My dad just so happened to pass away a few months back. He had a tumor in his brain that was slowly eating away at him. I visited him one day and was greeted with a letter on the nightstand beside his bed. He was far gone in the head, but I wasn't prepared that he would have forgotten about our curse. As I sat down next to him and explained that he had to read his letter, he asked why. I told him it was a love letter from his wife. Can you imagine his joy and the way his eyes lit up when he said, "I have a wife?" He opened the letter, read it, looked at me with seething anger, and asked why I would do this to him. I couldn't help but cry. He told me to leave, and he said he never wanted to see me again. My own dad. I know I was trying to save him from an unimaginable death, but I couldn't help but to feel ashamed for putting him through that. That's when I swore to never have kids. I wasn't going to put my own kids through something like that. So eventually, I got the key from my dad's belongings. He had left it to me in his will. Now that I'm going to die, I have to give it to my brother. He already has kids. He's had a good life. He'll be inheriting the key to our family's secrets, but not after I've uncovered them first. The chest is currently sitting at my grandpa's house, which my dad inherited. Now it's empty. Right now, I'm sitting in the kitchen I used to run around in when I was a little kid, whenever me and my siblings visited our grandparents. I swear, I only ever saw my grandpa happy when he was looking through his mail. I managed to pull down the chest from the attic. It took me long enough. It's heavy as shit. I opened it up to find at least 100 letters. There's so many generations of my family inside a single box. It will be impossible to find the oldest one, if there even is, and there's no dates on these. Even stranger, they all look the same. None of them looked older than the other. Some of them were covered with dark spots, looking elegantly placed, so as to not cover up its respective name. But other than that, they all looked brand new. No discoloring of the paper, all sporting a beautiful paper white. It took some digging, but so far I'm pretty sure I found my grandma's, my mom's siblings, my grandpa's, my grandpa's brothers, and my dad's. I've already read them all. I know I shouldn't have read them, but I had to know. I'm reading mine. I'm sure I'll find the answer I've been looking for there, but I'm not sure I want to know anymore. I'll transcribe the letters here in the order I read them. Read at your own risk. My grandma's letter. Janine. Nothing but a righteous woman. You have lived your life to the fullest of your capabilities. I have watched you for long. So pure of heart. Stop while you still can. You deserve nothing short of a warm embrace. You will go to sleep tonight, and you won't wake up. You will live on in your next life, and you will be happy. I'll make sure you're happy, my child. My grandpa's letter. Dave, you're a strong man. You would do anything to keep your family safe. Such a shame about the tragedy that befell your daughter. I never wish for my children to leave their life in such a painful matter. I won't forgive you. I will punish you. But you did what you could. She got what she deserved. You will meet your wife and your son soon, but I'll keep your daughter. She belongs to me. My mom's brother's letter. Jake, such a beautiful boy. You had your whole life ahead of you. You wanted to become an astronaut. So pure and innocent. Unlike your sister, she will read this because she is selfish, because she thinks she deserves more. You will go to sleep, and you will have a beautiful dream that goes on forever. Your sister will walk out into the forest. She will die a slow and painful death for what she's done. I must punish my children. She deserves it. My mom's sister's letter. Stephanie. There are those whose teeth are swords, whose fangs are knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, the needy from mankind. My child, you have become vile, your soul tainted, your eyes prey on weakness now, but you are young and ignorant. You deserve everything that's coming for you. I've set you on the righteous path, but rest assured, you will not be safe, for I won't be the one collecting you. My grandpa's brother's letter. John, you've been a good man your whole life. Why waste it on such an unimportant cause? What made you think you were entitled to something more than others? You're going to read this because you wanted to, because you thought you had to know. He will suffer because of it. John will slowly fade away, but I'll only let him go when I say so. It's all your fault. Finally, my dad's letter. Michael, I am so sorry for you, my child. He lies to you. He will not keep them safe. He will open it up. He will taint your family with his hands. He lies because he thinks you are gone. He lies because he thinks you deserve more. You don't. None of you do. You are all my children, but you all belong to me. I will take care of you, but I will not take care of him. I will cause him pain. I will keep him alive forever. It's time. Go ahead. Open your letter, Chris. My letter. Chris, I'm so sorry, my child, but the man standing behind you will take you away now. Goodbye. He just had to go and read all the letters. That story would make such a good movie. Let me know if you guys agree with that. I feel like it would make a really good movie. So in the last paragraph, it says, I will keep him alive forever. But Chris's letter says, the man standing behind you will take you away now. So now I'm wondering, where's he taking him to? I swear, this needs to be like a book. That was a really good story. That is all the stories I have for you today. Please, if you have a story you want me to read, join the Discord, go into the story submission channel, and send a link or a text file or whatever you want to send, because I will definitely read it. If you liked today's video, drop a like and subscribe. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. Thanks for watching.